I've got horrible news. My boat's sunk. You know how I told you I'd take you out anywhere in Sydney? This is not shit. I woke up this morning, okay? I'd taken my boat out last night, and it was too heavy to drag up onto the shore. Okay, I'm not going to put it on, but literally, I woke up this morning, I went down there at 8 AM, and my boat had fucking sunk. The whole engine was underwater. The only part above water was the bow. How the hell does that happen? The guy that sold it to me told me it had a flotation device in the bloody back seat, which disallowed it to fucking sink. I have had this boat for 1 week. I've taken it out twice. The first time, the motor half came down in the water and I had to get it repaired, $185. The second time, I tied it to one of those moorings, but it wasn't one of the jetties that float up and down with the tide. It was one of the ones that is just stationary, one of the really old school ones, like the one that's, you know, crumbled at Cremorne the other day and sunk. I chained it up, okay, and the tide came up. And the bottom part of my boat was chained to the lower part of the jetty. So when the tide rose, the chain got taut and the water just rushed into the back. The back of the boat filled with water and it sunk like a bucket. Now the top of the boat, the bow, was also chained to a railing from the same jetty, and so it was able to stay afloat. I mean, it didn't sink because it was chained up. So I got into the boat, okay, they're about this much of the boat that was still afloat, okay, and I got in to undo the padlock so I could try and get it out. Of course, I fell waist deep in water. It's nearly winter in Sydney. Do you know how fucking cold the water is? Jesus Christ. Anyway, I was pretty distraught because, I mean, I've only had this boat a week. It might be a 20-year-old boat, but the bloody engine that had just been repaired for $185 was submerged, probably all night, 8 hours, whatever. You know what, that's going to cost me another $200 at least. Anyway, I called my dad up. I had to drag him out of work, get him over to help me try and get this boat out of the water. So, you know, he's helping me. He says, jump down and undo that other padlock, the one that's chained around the engine. I said, look, I can't do that without getting wet. He's like, no, I'll hold the chain. I'll pull it up. I'll try and drag it up and get some of the water out. And we did. We got some of the water out. So I got in the boat, all right? I was kind of standing on the second row of seating, all right? And then you know what happened? Of course you know what happened. I fell in. Fucking hell. Do you know what a shock to the system it is when you fall into bloody 8-degree water? It is unbelievable. I haven't been swimming since summer, okay, you know, which was around Christmas time in Australia. Suddenly submerged in water in a jumper and long pants and shoes, and there's no way out of there. There's no ladder. It's not like a wharf that steps right down into the water. It's like, you know, there's a good meter from the water to the top where you can grab on. I couldn't get myself out of there. So I had to swim to the end. Meanwhile, there's a family watching, a mother and her 2 little kids. Mate, they saw the best show today. You know what the kid said? He goes, I hope that man doesn't get eaten by a shark. So I said, Dad, hurry up. Get over here, pull me out of the water. I'm surprised a man of his age, almost 60, you know, was able to bloody pull me out. So he pulled me out of the water, and I was soaking wet, you know. Luckily, I'd taken my mobile and ciggies out of my pocket beforehand. Speaking of which, I might have one because I'm telling a sad story, and, you know, I need a bit of comfort. And then the dramas just continued and continued. I got out of the water, you know. Then I had to get back in so I could cut the rope. So I fucked my foot on oysters and it bloody killed. I was bleeding everywhere, you know, and I was like, you know, if another thing goes wrong, you know, I'm not going to be able to handle the rest of this day. There wasn't just one jetty I had to climb under, there was three, okay? So, you know, I got onto one jetty, my dad pulled the boat out, I had to walk around to the next one while he pulled the boat along the shoreline. Then I would climb down to the next jetty, climbed under it, you know, they've got these little crossbars, I had to, you know, scale my way through it. Lucky I was born in the year of the monkey, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it. So, alright, I'm under these pylons, getting cut up by oysters, rope in my mouth, trying to get this dinghy third full of water. I was distraught, you know. I knew the motor was fucked. You know, once you got a bloody motor submerged in salt water for up to 8 hours, you know, it's screwed. You got to pay $200 at least to get that shit fixed. So, then we got onto the final jetty, and what could I do? Alright, I didn't have an oar on me, I had to go around to the marina, borrow an oar, rowed it round to the beach. Then we had to pull it up on the sand. Of course, the bastard that sold us the motor didn't mention that when you tilt this motor, it doesn't click into the upward section. You can tilt it, but then you click the lock, and it'll fall straight back down and get bogged in the sand. So I had to go back, you know, thigh deep in water, hold the motor down, tilt it up. When my dad was at the front, I had to push it up onto the sand, he had to pull, and then once we got it shallow enough to be able to remove the motor, I had to pull it off, you know, put it on the trolley, drag this bloody heavy boat along the sand between two of us, 1, 2, 3, heave, you know, I felt like a bloody ancient Egyptian slave trying to drag those bloody huge boulders along. You know, but we didn't have the little bloody, you know, logs to put underneath it because some bastard stole it. In fact, if you're watching and you are that cunt that stole my 3 little logs that I used to get it ashore, it is your fault that my boat sunk, because without those, I would have been able to, you know, get it back up and chain it to the tree, but instead I had to chain it on the bloody wharf overnight and let the tide rise and destroy my motor. Anyway, okay, cut to the chase. We got the motor in the boot, we got the boat chained to the tree, we took it down to Yamaha. They said, your motor's fucked, it's gonna cost $200 to fix. So I'm glad I got to take you out yesterday and show you Balmoral Beach and a bit of Sydney Harbour. I'm glad I got to show you the sunset. But my promise of taking you anywhere around Sydney Harbour is on hold for the time being. Yeah. It was a bad day today. And if I was Dax Flame, not that I want to bloody, you know, plug Dax Flame because I'm sick of that motherfucker. He's fucking getting old. Bloody storyline's going nowhere. You know, I'd have a cry. But, you know, I was crying on the inside, trust me. You know, I was upset, you know. So, my boat's fucked for the time being, and there'll be no boating adventures, but Yamaha reckons I'll have the motor fixed within 3 days, so keep the requests coming. I'll still try and take you around, you know. Fucking hell. Anyway, that's my story. Hope you enjoyed it, because I sure fucking didn't. And you have a good night, and I hope that nothing like that happens to you. But hey, look, if anything came out of it, it was a good story. So that's why I'm putting it on YouTube. You know, if only I'd taken the video camera down, you would have laughed. You would have got to see it happen. But I hope you appreciated my retelling of the story, because, you know, oh well, I got a phone call coming, so that's a reason to get rid of this bloody video blog. So I'll see you later, and I hope you enjoyed it, because I fucking didn't. See you later.